In the last episode of History in Motion, we explored how, long before cities or metal tools, early humans discovered the power of tension and release. The bow and arrow wasn't just a weapon, it was a revolution in thinking, turning raw instinct into engineering. It spread across continents, built empire, shaped myth, and changed the very way humans related to distance, death, and design. From Stone Age hunter to medieval warriors, this simple tool became a timeless symbol of precision, power, and progress. What if the greatest weapon early human ever invented was not the spear, but cooperation itself? Cooperative hunting, humans working together, often with animals like dogs, turned fragile primitive into some of the most effective predators the planet had ever seen. This episode dive into that story. How ancient people tracked animals from a single footprint. How they learned to read the landscape like a book. And how an alliance with dogs reshaped both species forever. Hundreds of thousands years ago, in the Paleolithic, early humans and their relatives lived as hunter-gatherers on African savanna, Eurasian steppes, and forest edge. They had stone tools, wooden spear, and fire, but no metal weapon, no agriculture, and no permanent towns. Yet the archaeological record shows that by around 400,000 years ago, some groups were already targeting large, healthy animals, not just weak or dead ones. At sites like Qesem Cave in Israel, the bone of prime-aged deer and cattle-sized animal bear cut marks that tells a clear story of deliberate, organized hunting and careful butchery back at home base. This was not the work of lone hunter. Targeting down big game with simple spear demanded planning, coordination, and shared risk. These hunts were as much social events as they were economic necessities. Moments when communication, trust, and shared intent decided who lived to see another winter. Picture a band of early humans gathering at the edge of a forested valley. The Scots have watched a herd of deer for days, learning where they graze, where they rest, and which path they use to move between water and shelter. The plan is simple but not easy. Several hunters will circle wide to get ahead of the herd. Others will drive the animal from behind, and a few will wait at the narrowest point of the valley to deliver the killing blows. Evidence from Qesem Cave and other Paleolithic sites shows patterns consistent with this kind of cooperative strategy. Hunters focused on adult animals in their prime and transported selected body parts back to central places, implying coordinated process and sharing. Simple wood and spear would have required hunters to close in at short range, making mutual support, backup spear thrust, distraction and protection from counterattack critical. Cooperative hunt likely relied on an invisible choreography, gestures, call and shared mental map of the landscape. Over time, bands that hunt well together survive harsh seasons, raise more children, and spread their techniques across continents. In a very real sense, hunting parties become mobile laboratories for testing memories, coordination, and empathy. But before any dramatic chase could begin, hunters needed to find their prey. In many environments, that job fell to expert tracker. People who could look at a faint line of hoofprint and reconstruct an entire story, species, size, direction, speed, and even mood. Modern research on hunter-gatherer tracking in Africa and elsewhere shows how sophisticated this knowledge can be. A skilled tracker identify animals from a single print, estimate age and sex, and infer whether the animal is tired, limping, or alert, based on subtle difference in depth, spacing, and shape. Archaeologists studying ancient rock engraving of animal track in Namibia found that the engraver encoded simple level of details, suggesting that track reading was a simply embedded part of prehistoric knowledge system. Footprint also preserve fleeting moment in time. At White Sand in North America, ancient human tracks stretch across what was once a wetland, showing adults walking with children and occasionally speeding up into a run. Some tracks intersect with animal prints, hinting at pursuit, avoidance, or opportunistic encounters between humans and the creature they were following. For a Paleolithic tracker, the earth was a living text. A broken twig, a displaced stone, a scuff in the sand, each became a letter in a sentence describing an animal's recent choice. Reading that text allowed Hunter to approach from downwind, time an ambush at a water hole, or decide whether to abandon a chase that was draining precise energy. Cooperative hunts likely unfolded in stages. First, trackers located the herd and interpreted its movement. Second, the group agreed on a plan: drive, ambush, surround, or exhaust. Third, each hunter took a role, some as drivers making noise and showing themselves, others as blocks laying in wait, and perhaps a few as reserve to intercept animals that slipped through. Archaeological evidence from communal hunting sites, where many animal carcasses accumulates in one place, suggests that entire groups sometimes cooperated to funnel animal into natural trap like ravines or boggy ground. In such scenario, timing mattered most than individual strength. A misplaced shot or a premature throw could shatter the herd and waste days of effort. When the plan worked, chaos exploded in few heart-stopping seconds. Hooves thundering, spears flying, shots echoing off rock walls. Successful hunting need both courage and discipline. Maintaining position, covering each other and finishing wounded animal quickly to avoid dangerous counterattack. Afterwards, the hunt continued in another form. The long exhausting labor of butchering, carrying meat home and dividing it in a way that maintained alliance and obligation. At some point late in the Ice Age, another hunter joined these human teams. Genetic and archaeological studies suggest that dogs descended from an extinct population of grey wolves and were domesticated in the old world before farming began, likely in association with hunter-gatherers. This means that the first dogs evolved alongside people whose lives revolves around tracking, foraging, and cooperative hunts. Over thousands of years, certain wolves may have followed human camps, feeding on scalps and carcasses left behind at kills. Less fearful, more socially flexible individuals would have had an advantage, gradually shifting into a new ecological niche as humans tolerate camp followers. Humans in turn may have noticed which animal bark at approaching predators, followed scent trail, or helped locate wounded games. By around 11,000 to 14,000 years ago, archaeological sites in the Near East show both dog bones and changes in hunted species that hint at canine-assisted hunting. At Subukia 6 in Jordan, for example, there is a surge in hair bones, suggesting that dog helped human capture fast, elusive small game that would have been difficult to catch with nest or simple weapon alone. Ethnographical studies from places like New Guinea shows how transformative hunting dog can be. They increase the number of animals captured, change the mix of prey species, and allow hunters to exploit dense forest and rugged terrain more effectively. Through these examples are recent. They provided successful analog of what early humans might have gained when they first began to hunt side by side with dogs. Imagine a late Ice Age hunt in the Near East. Hunters move slightly along a rocky slope at dawn. Ahead, their dogs weave back and forth, noses close to the ground, picking up faint scent track from the night. When a dog paws, tail stiff, the hunters kneel and study the ground. Fresh hoof prints, the soft rumble of soil where an animal shifted its weight. Now tracking becomes a layered process. Human eyes intercept shapes and patterns in the earth, while canine nose reconstruct invisible scent trail drifting on the wind. Together, the team can follow wounded animals, locate hidden resting spots, and maintain pressure over long distance. In every successful kill, everyone gained. Humans secure more reliable meat and fat. Dogs gained access to bone, organ, and protection from rival predators. The partnership reinforced itself generation after generation. Over time, humans shaped dogs through selective breeding, while dog reshaped human strategy, expanding the environment and prey type that hunting brand could exploit. One surprising discovery is how early systematic big game hunting appears. At Qesem Cave, the focus on prime adults suggests that by 400,000 years ago, hominins had already mastered a hunting niche once considered unique to much later modern humans. This pushes sophisticated cooperative behavior far deeper into the past than many textbooks once implied. Another striking fact comes from the study of engraved animal tracks in Namibia. When indigenous Kalahari tracking experts examined these ancient carvings, they could often identify species, sex, and even age from a stylized footprint alone, revealing that prehistoric artists encoded information at a level that only skilled trackers could fully appreciate. These engravings were not mere decoration. They were information stored, teaching tools, perhaps even ritual way of honoring the animal and the craft of tracking. Cooperative hunting did more than fill cooking fire with meat. It rewired human thought and lived together. Hunting large game required planning across time, anticipating seasonal migration, remembering where animals passed in previous year, and coordinating group role long before the first spear was thrown. This kind of planning likely favored brain that could imagine future scenario, negotiate and communicate complex ideas. Sharing the spoil also mattered. At sites like Qesem Cave, butchering and meat transport patterns point to central place where food was processed and presumably distributed among group members. Such sharing systems create intricate web of obligation and reputation. Generous hunter give prestige, selfish one risk social boycott. This pressure may have reinforced fairness, empathy, and a sense of group identity, trait that underpin modern human societies. So next time you see a dog sprint after a thrown stick or follow a scent trail along a forest path, remember you're watching echoes of an ancient partnership. Long before cities, before writing, even before agriculture, humans were already masters of cooperation, working in teams, reading the ground, and forging alliance with another species to survive. The story of cooperative hunting is not just a tale of spear and prey. It is the story of how thinking together become humanity's superpower. In the next episode, the journey continues. The Stone Age people lived in a world crowded with giants and dangerous predators. They faced towering mammoth and woolly rhinoceros on the open steppe, massive orc cattle in the forest, and the herd of wild horses, deer, and antelopes thundering across the plains. So thank you for joining in. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And join me next time as we continue our journey from stone to silicon.